Excellent connection. Close. And we are live. All right. Well, hello everybody. Let me adjust this mic real quick. Sorry if, let me mute this. All right, hope everybody's doing well tonight as we kick off our very first live stream of 2023. For those of you that haven't really been following the channel, and I'll just kind of talk a little bit as people are coming in and we're getting started. We have moved. We are now living, we were living in Laredo in South Texas. Now we are in Southeast Texas, just outside of Beaumont. So we're kind of getting used to this area as well. We got a whole new area to fish in, which is going to be very interesting because we have been fishing. As you know, most of our fishing grounds was in Corpus Christi and Aransas Pass area, things like that. And now we are going to be learning a completely different area for fishing. Instead of fishing mainly down in South Texas, now we're going to be fishing in Southeast Texas, outside of Beaumont specifically, a lot in Sabine Lake. There's a couple of things that we've been learning here. Sabine Lake, Keith Lake, we live near Cow Bayou, and there's also the Neches River, and there's some other rivers around as well. So a lot more fishing. There's a lot of freshwater fishing around, so we might be getting a little bit into that depending on how we learn this area and what we're doing. But it's been a big move, so you haven't seen much of us during the winter season because we moved in December. And we've got a lot of things to go with the house and renovations and just getting everything ready. So it was just a whole big thing. But this is supposed to be interactive, so if you have questions or things you want to talk about, please put them in the comments in the chat there, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Also, if you have not yet already, we have started a We Go Fishing news channel. It is separate from We Go Fishing. And the reason why is because the algorithm really didn't like the news section of things with the, I guess you could say, the fishing blog, the things that we do there. So in any case, so we wanted to separate those two things out. And in doing so, we had to create that new channel, We Go Fishing News. So if you've not subscribed to that yet, I'm going to put it over on news. Subscribe to We Go Fishing News. And I'll put the URL here up in just a second so that you can do that. But we post there, and mostly shorts. It has been the ticket there. We have been posting a lot of shorts, just very short things that we do. Fishing news, specifically Texas related. I know for some of you that aren't in Texas, that's not something that you're interested in, and that's fine. We completely understand that. We'd still love to have your subscription, still love to have the support. That would be great. But there's the channel URL, so you can go over there and subscribe to that. And like I said, just shorts and things like that, but just kind of keep fishing news up to date. We like to do that. It's kind of fun. So make sure that you go over there. And if you've not subscribed to our channel here, we're going to be releasing the same things as goes forward, fishing adventures, things that we do. We're also going to be doing the tackle and unsolicited advice and just all the things that we've been doing on this channel now for a couple of years. So make sure to do that. If you've joined us for viewing, make sure you say hello because I'd love to see who's here with us tonight as we get started with this live stream. Like I was saying at the beginning of the live stream, we have moved. And so we are learning a whole new area for fishing. It's going to take us a little bit, but I did go out last Friday fishing for the first time on the Sabine, and a place called Pleasure Island was the place that I went. And let me put it up here on the screen so you can see. I got a couple of different things. This one, this is... And I got this on ultralight tackle. I don't know if you can see the rod behind there, but it was a light rod that I got this alligator gar on, which I thought was very funny. That I got an alligator gar on my first trip into Sabine, being that coming from South Texas. They're all over the place. You got Falcon Lake, you got all the places there. So I got this alligator gar, about 4.5 foot or so, and I had my big circle drop net to get them up on the pier. Fishing Texas Waters, hey, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. Hope you're doing well. But anyways, got that, and then the next catch, and I actually got him on cut mullet. I was going for redfish, and I just had a piece of cut mullet, just not even that big, out there on a bottom rig and floating. And he came up and he picked it up. So that was pretty cool, I thought. And then after that, not long after that, caught a nice big ugly. You can see there, same spot. This was actually on shrimp. On the same type of rig there, bottom rig. So that was my first trip. Caught a lot of small trout and also a lot of puppy drum. So it was a pretty good trip, pretty good exploratory trip. So we're going to be doing more on the Sabine as we get out there and kind of learn the fishing water. So if you fish the Sabine, if you know anything about that, make sure that you let me know, because I would love to learn how to fish it. There's a couple of guides and things I've been talking to already to talk about how they are fishing it, because it's a completely different body of water. It's shallow, and it's got a lot of fresh water that flows into it as well. So that's going to be kind of interesting to kind of get used to. So if you know anything about fishing on the Sabine, love to hear about that as well. But tonight, so that's a little bit about us. It's just a little bit of a status update on what's going on with the channel. Karen is out and about. She might be joining us. She might not. She might pop in to say hello. I'm not really sure yet. She's got a bunch of stuff going on and trying to find the schedule. The schedule has been absolutely crazy. Just trying to get the move and everything going on. So tonight, I thought we'd talk about something. I found an article, and I'll put it up here. I don't know. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it. I'm going to read it to you, if not the whole thing, but I'll read it to you if you're not able to see it. But it's about forward-facing sonar, forward sonars. And let me see if I can blow it up there. There we go. Anglers expressed concerns about forward sonar usage. And I thought we could talk a little bit about that. Some of you are freshwater anglers. I don't know that we use this so much in saltwater applications, but I have seen a lot of it done in freshwater applications. As a matter of fact, like I said, I haven't used it, but a lot of the fishing guides, some of the guys that are really serious anglers are out there, and they are using this forward sonar. And I've kind of looked at it when I've seen it. It's going to sound bad, but I kind of call it video game fishing, because it's got like a red screen. It's like a live scope, and you can see the fish on it, and you can just drop down exactly where they are, and you can see your line even going down, and then you can actually just jig for them, and it's kind of crazy the way that works. And so, but there's this concern. I got this out of the Beaumont Enterprises. Anglers are expressing concern about forward sonar usage, and sometimes it's called live scope as well. And the article reads, a recent column highlighting how forward-facing sonar technology, FFS technology, has changed the game in crappie and bass fishing. And it really has. If you have fished a tournament, you have seen this used. And it's almost becoming one of those things that you really can't be competitive unless you're using it. Like I said, if that's something you know more about, I would love to hear from you. You can put your comments in the chat, and we can definitely talk about it. But it says, for those of you who may not know, FFS is all the rage with fishermen these days. It works on a special transducer that mounts to the trolling motor or an independent pole. Anglers can slip quietly along as the transducer scans the water column well ahead of the boat. The high-resolution imagery relays the electronic screens to allow the anglers to see fish fitting around in real time. And that is the big part. You can see the fish in real time. You know exactly where they are. You can see them moving. You can see them reacting to your baits. You can see them as they're coming up or coming down. You can actually see your bait, your lure, as it moves through the water column. And you can see how the fish actually react to your bait. And it is quite amazing to see. And for crappie, for fish that are suspended on structure, it really changes the game. Because it says you can see exactly where they are in that structure and how they are responding to your lure, to what you're putting down there. So if they're not interested in it, or whether they're going at it, whether they're coming up and inspecting it, you can see it. And that's why I've kind of termed it a little bit of a video game fishing, because it feels like that, like those video games where you put out your lure and you can see the fish coming up to it and things like that. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. So I don't know if you've had any experience with it. Like I said, I've seen it used. I don't use it myself, but I've seen it used. So see, Fishing Texas Water says, I don't catch a lot, but all this tech to me seems like it takes the excitement and spontaneity, I guess, out of catching. And I would say, yeah, that's one of the things that I think is most concerned about. These are things that are actually just changing the way that we fish. Even for me, when I got the trolling motor with the spot lock, that completely changed everything about how I fished, where I fished, what I was able to do, how fast I was able to get around and move to places, holding in spots I wouldn't be able to normally hold. And I think technology like this live scope or the FFS technology, I think it is changing the way we fish. And what that's going to mean is limits are going to change, because you're going to be able to target fish in a much different way than what was ever done before. And I think it's something that we need to be conscious of. And it's kind of a crazy thing. This is one of the main benefits of the FFS technology, is to help anglers make precise bait presentations. And there you go, making those precise bait presentations to fish to see how they react to baits. It allows for moving with the fish and keeping a lure in their face 100% of the time. So if you're going for reaction strikes, which most of us are doing, if you're a lure fisherman, you're going for reaction strikes, being able to present a bait and keep it in front of the fish 100% of the time to get that reaction strike, that is going to significantly change how we fish and what we're doing. And like I said, if you're a tournament fisher and you're going out for these things, this is how it's done. It's almost like I said, I hate to say it again if I'm repeating myself, but it's almost like video game fishing. This technology is definitely changing things. And then it says, Paris is a veteran of Lake Fork Fishing Guide and a self-proclaimed forward Sony junkie himself. As useful as technology has been in helping anglers step up their game, some critics believe it could potentially do harm to some of the state's top-tier crappie fisheries. And I think this article is beginning to point out the real issue that we're going to have. If you can look at the live scope and you can see the size of the fish, if you can see how they react to the bait, you can target the bigger fish, which means you're going to get a lot more females than maybe what you typically got before. And so that's part of what he says in this article. Again, he says, Paris says the main rub is that many crappie fishermen are using the technology to single out and target larger females for harvest rather than settling for a limit of 10 to 12-inch fish. So like my daughter, you can see it here, the Big Fish Award. She got a Big Fish Award for a 15-inch white crappie. We were fishing there, and that was the one that struck. But if you could just look at your live scope and you could see the size of them and you say, oh, these are too small, I'm going to move on, you can definitely do that. And that's definitely going to change the way that we fish, but it's also going to harm the fishery because eventually targeting those big species, it's like fish in a barrel at that point. And it really takes and I liked what Fishing Texas Water said there, because it really does take the excitement out of it, I think. I don't know how exciting that would be to kind of go fishing like a video game if you had that type of technology. But again, put your thoughts in the comments there, because I'd love to hear what you think about it, because this can become definitely a problem. Crappie in the article, it says, are prolific panfish, highly sought after food. If you've not had crappie yet, or crappie, depending on where you're from, they are good. They are really good to eat. They're nice white meat, very tasty. I do not practice, as the article says here, I do not practice catch and release with crappie or crappie because they are good. They are good to eat. Probably my favorite freshwater fish to eat. So if you have a different one that you like, let me know that too. But we do like crappie, and the state limit is 25 fish a day, and they only have to be 10 inches. So you're not really talking about a very big fish. So that's why. And they also, if you've been that type of fishing, you know they school up. They school up around structure a lot. And so this is what the article says. Paris says, you wouldn't believe the number of big females that are being taken out of here now compared to the days before forward sonar. And again, there you go again, targeting those big females, which means less eggs, less production. That's going to hurt the fishery. There's a lot more fishermen after them too, and most of them are using it. I know it's happening. I've seen it on the water, at the cleaning tables, and pictures on social media. These are the big females that produce a lot of eggs. And he says, I don't know how that couldn't be hurting the lake. And I'd have to agree with that. If you're taking out a lot of those big females and you're using this forward sonar to do that and targeting them, and you're seeing these bigger fish coming out of the lakes, what that means is the fishery is going to go down in quality. I mean, it's just logic. How else it could not happen? It'd be the equivalent. I showed you that picture of that big ugly that I caught earlier in the podcast in this live stream. If we kept all the big uglies, I mean, they don't taste very good, so I don't know why you do that. But if you kept all those big uglies, those are your breeder fish. That's going to hurt your fishery. So you're going to want to put them back. That's why we talk about even the trout. If you get big trout, putting them back. Big flounder, same thing. All the bigger fish tend to be female, and putting them back is really going to help the fishery. So we got to think about that as conservationists, that the big fish, the big females, taking them out and harvesting them, that could be very well hurting the fishery. I'm not a catch and release guy. I catch fish to eat and to feed my family. But at the same time, we've got to be conservationist minded about these things. And if a guide is going out multiple days a week, he's got the live scope, he knows exactly where the fish are, he puts his clients right on fish, he's got 4 people in the boat, 3 people in the boat, 25 fish a piece, you're talking 50, 75 crappie a day, plus other fish. It's going to cause, there's no way that doesn't cause a problem. It says, Paris says a high percentage of the big fish are being plucked out of old standing timber that was left in the lake before it filled. And he says here, this is interesting, he says you couldn't fish the timber very effectively before forward sonar. Everyone fished the deep points, brush piles, or bridges. Those fish in the timber were pretty much unmolested, but not now. Guys are going out there with 2 seats in the front of the boat, long rods, and they're just trolling around looking for the big ones. They aren't just looking for a limit of crappie again. They are looking for a limit of big ones, of the big crappie. And again, that becomes the issue that I think we're going to be dealing with. So it makes me wonder if eventually we're going to see regulations on this. It tends to be one of those things that Texas has been fairly reactive, not very proactive when it comes to regulations. I know we can all probably have divided opinions on the efficacy of regulations. But at the same time, I know that Texas tends to be it seems like they've been kind of reactive. So it makes me wonder if in the future you're going to see the crappie fishery collapse and Texas come in and do something about either lowering the limits, which, that might be something to do, lowering the limits, or saying you can't use the forward sonar. I don't know if they could do that. I don't know if they could say you can't use this device for taking fish. There are illegal devices that you can't have on your boat, so it is possible they go that route, or they can just lower the limit, and that would be very interesting. So anyway, with Texas Fisher Waters, thanks for joining us for the time. I do appreciate it. Happy Texas Independence Day to you as well, and much appreciated your support. Thank you very much for that, and happy Texas Independence Day for all you Texans that are out there listening to the live stream and the podcast. Thank you for that, and enjoy your Texas Independence Day. So this is the part of the article that kind of caught my attention at first. It says Paris isn't the only angler who feels that way. Inland fisheries biologist with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department says they've heard similar concerns from numerous anglers. So this means right here that Texas Parks and Wildlife, it's now on their radar. And that's where I say, again, that's where the regulations come in. It'd be nice if we all self-policed. It'd be nice if we all said, hey, this is a problem. We got to make sure that we're doing this the right way and we're doing the right thing. But I really think that most people don't self-police all that well. And they're out there to get meat harvests or whatever it is, and to have a good time. And so that's when the Texas Parks and Wildlife is going to end up stepping in. Biologists out of the Tyler office are in the process of trying to learn more about the potential impacts of forward-facing sonar on crappie populations. Their most effective tool for assessing the situations are angler creel surveys, according to Texas Parks and Wildlife District Leader Jake Norman. If you have been on the water and you've come back to the boat ramps, you've probably seen one of these angler creel surveys. You get off your boat and they say, what did you catch out there today? How many did you catch? Let me see them. They're not there to write your tickets or anything like that, though I guess they could. I don't know. But they're out there saying, what'd you catch today? And how many did you catch? And so they're using those surveys to kind of figure out what's being caught, how many are being caught. And it says right here that there's a couple of surveys that are underway. Now, this article is a little bit older, so I don't know if they're still out there. So some of you that are out in those areas, you can tell me. But at Lake Forks, Sam Rayburn, Lake of the Pines, Palestine, and I hope I pronounce this right, Tawakoni, Richland Chambers, Ray Hubbard, and Oak Creek is where the angler creel surveys are being undertaken as well. And I know that when we were in Aransas Pass, we would see them from time to time, and they would be out there conducting them on the water at the boat ramps and things like that. And so that's something to be aware of as well. And so it's just something to think about. And I'll be curious as people watch this live stream and listen to the podcast to hear people's thoughts on the forward-facing sonar and what they think would be the best solution regarding it, because I don't know. I don't know if Texas Parks and Wildlife needs to lower regulations or tighten up their regulations. Maybe 25 fish is too many. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they need to change their... say you can't have that piece of equipment on your boat. I don't know that either. And I'm also curious if other states, if you're in another state, I'd be curious if other states outlaw this as well, or what their responses have been to this technology. That would be interesting to know as well, because I don't know that I've heard anybody else talking about it. Traveling Fools, hey, welcome. Thanks you for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. Hope you guys are doing well, enjoying your new year. Much appreciated, guys. Good to hear from you. So going back to the article, Norman, he says, an avid angler himself. He's well accustomed to how effective front-facing sonar can be when going after crappie, and is anxious to learn if the technology might be having impacts on their populations. He says, at this point, the department is more curious than concerned. The problem that we have largely with Texas Parks and Wildlife is they say that they want public input. Quite often they're not that interested in the public input. Quite often they already have their minds made up and they're kind of looking for us to sign off on it. And we can put all of the sense that we want into it, but the lobbyists and things like that, they tend to get there, and by the time we're putting in our word as to what we think should happen, they've already made up their minds. So Norman says a year's worth of data will give us a pretty good snapshot of the fishery and what's going on between forward-facing sonar users and non-users. We'll be able to look at catch rate comparisons, the size of the fish, the size of the harvest between them, and from there we could dive into some of the simulations of what types of impacts that could have. That's what we're looking at. What kind of impact is this technology going to have on fishing? It is an awesome technology to be able to look in real time, see fish, and go after them, seeing your bait as it presents to the fish. But again, that does have an impact when you're able to target something that specifically. Studying the crappie's prolific nature, Norman pointed out that he has no real concerns as far as forward-facing sonar usage impacting the total abundance of crappie in any lake. But he says, is there a chance that it could be impact the abundance of larger crappie? He said, truthfully, I think there is. We should have some insight on that once this Angler Creel project wraps up. So that might be another direction that they go. That might give you a little bit of an adjustment there. They might talk about size, and they might say if it's over a certain size, and make these sort of things a slot, 10 to 14, or something like that. Which again, that's just, I don't know how fun that's going to be. So we got to think about these things. Technology does impact the environment. Biologists also said that surveys could be needed if angler creel surveys indicate FF usage is having a negative impact on the large crappie in some lakes. On some fisheries, having trophy crappie is an important aspect of it. It's not just about catching and harvesting any crappie. Norman said in some cases, there could be a need for a whole different angler attitude survey to look at angler satisfaction. From there, we would have to determine whether or not it would be worth developing a trophy crappie regulation of some certain situations. And then he finishes up, Matt Williams, the writer of the article, he finishes up with only time will tell on that one. So a very interesting article. It gives us some things to think about when we're using technology in fishing. We have to admit that the technology and things that we use today are much different than the people that came before us. And we are able to get to places they were not able to get to. We were able to get to them faster. We have better baits, we have better technology, we have better boats, we have all of these technology. It is amazing though how many advantages we have and still people get skunked. I mean, that's always still pretty funny to me. But at the same time, it is interesting to me that we have all of this technology that's out there, and that does impact the environment. Our technological advancements, they do have significant impacts on the environment, and that's something to keep in mind because we want to be responsible with what we've been given. Make sure we're using them responsibly. So I'd love to again hear your thoughts about conservation when it comes to these things. Do you think this technology is a good idea? Do you think this technology is a bad idea? Do you think that they should adjust regulations? Do you think they should outlaw the technology altogether? What do you think? Maybe they need to create a slot size in order to protect the larger fish from being harvested. I'm just kind of curious on what people think regarding this and the impacts this might have. And again, we're talking specifically in this article about crappie, but really when it comes down to it, this technology can be used in any application. It could be used in many different fishing circumstances. It's not simply for just this one fish, although it does seem to be used on fish that school and suspend a lot more. But again, if you go out in tournaments, you see this technology used routinely. And matter of fact, some people have told me, I don't fish tournaments, but some people have told me if you don't have this sort of technology on your boat, you're basically gimping yourself. It would be the equivalent of not having a trolling motor, or not having some type of stick pin or shallow water anchors. If you don't have those sort of things on your boat, you really are limiting yourself in those tournament situations. And then for us recreational anglers to just go out there every once in a while to have fun and enjoy ourselves, this sort of technology can really change that day. Again, I don't know how fun it would be to go out there and just kind of stick a rod down and video game fish, but I guess if you're bringing back meat, then maybe that's more fun catching than not catching. I don't know. But in any case, love to hear your thoughts about that. I'm gonna wrap this up here in just a moment. But thank you for joining us. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Again, we are learning how to fish in a brand new location. We moved from South Texas to Southeast Texas, and so we are learning how to fish in the Natchez area. We live near Cow Bayou and the Sabine Lake and Keith Lake and Sabine Pass. Those are all areas that we are going to be targeting here this year. Also, the beach has changed. Searim and McFadden, I believe, is the other beach that we'll be going out on to try and learn some beach fishing here that we don't get some of the species as much here as what was gotten down there, but we do see some really big ones around, so we'll be looking forward to that, especially big gaff tops. That's something that people go for here. Big gaff tops. And then also sharks, a lot more sharks. Big bull reds, things like that. So we do see a lot of bigger species. The water's completely different here too, from Aransas Pass and that in Corpus Christi area. Here it's definitely more chocolatey. It does have some fresh water in it as well, depending on how much rain we've had. So that's going to be kind of interesting too. So we're going to get used to that, and we're going to figure all that out as well. So look forward to you guys joining us on our adventures here. We'll be posting them to this channel for as we have been for the last little bit. I'll be trying to do these live streams on Thursdays from 6:30 to 7:30, somewhere in there. But I'll try and begin them around 6:30, and then we can chat and talk about some things. And if you have not yet already, I would invite you to go over to our news channel as well, our We Go Fishing News. That's really geared around Texas fishing news. But if you're interested in that, then you can do that as well. And until next time, may you always catch your limit. Thanks for joining us.